So this is a very nice chapter from Krishna book, Krishna the Ranchor, and then we will try to read, see how much we can read. When Mujkunda, the celebrated descendant of the Ikshaku dynasty, was favored by Lord Krishna, he circumambulated the Lord Krishna, the Lord, within the cave, and then came out. On coming out of cave, Mujkunda saw that the human species had surprisingly been reduced in stature to pygmy size. Similarly, the trees also had been reduced to size, and Mujkunda could immediately understand that the current age was Kali Yuga. Therefore, without diverting his attention, he began to travel north. Eventually, he reached the mountain known as Gandamadana, where there were many trees such as sandalwood and other flowering trees whose fragrance made anyone who reached them joyful. He decided to remain in that Gandhamandana mountain region to execute austerities and penances for the rest of his life. It appears that this place is situated in the northernmost part of the Himalayan mountains, where the abode of Naranarayana is situated. This place is still existing and is called Badrikashrama. In Badrikashrama, he engaged himself in the worship of Lord Krishna, tolerating all kinds of pains and pleasures and other dualities of this material world. Lord Krishna returned to the vicinity of Mathura, where he fought with soldiers of Kaliyavana and killed them one after another. After this, he collected all the booty from the dead bodies, and under his direction, it was loaded on bullock carts and brought back to Dwarka. Meanwhile, Jarasandha again attacked Mathura, this time with bigger divisions of soldiers, numbering 23 Akshahonis. Lord Shri Krishna wanted to save Mathura from the 18th attack of the great military divisions of King Jarasandha. To prevent further killing of soldiers and to attain other important business, left Lord Krishna left the battlefield without fighting. Actually, he was not at all afraid, but he pretended to be an ordinary human being, frightened by the immense quantity of soldiers and resources of Jarasandha. Without any weapons, Krishna left the battlefield. Although his lotus feet were as soft as the petals of a lotus flower, he proceeded for a very long distance on foot. This time, Jarasandha thought that Krishna and Balaram were very much afraid of his military strength and were fleeing the battlefield. He followed them with all his chariots, horses, and infantry. He thought Krishna and Balaram to be ordinary human beings, and he was trying to measure the activities of the Lord. Due to this pastime, Krishna is known as Ranchor, which means one who has left the battlefield. In India, especially in Gujarat, there are many temples of Krishna known as temples of Ranchorji. Ordinarily, if a king leaves the battlefield without fighting, he is called a coward. But when Krishna enacts this pastime, leaving the battlefield without fighting, he is worshipped by the devotees. A demon always tries to measure the opulence of Krishna, where the devotee never tries to measure his strength and opulence, but always surrenders unto him and worships him. By following in the footsteps of pure devotees, we can know that Krishna, the Ranchorji, left the battlefield not because he was afraid, but because he had some other purpose. The purpose, as it will be revealed, was to attain to a confidential letter sent by Rukmani, his future first wife. Krishna's leaving the battlefield is a display of one of his 6 opulences. Krishna, the supreme powerful and the supreme wealthy, the supremely famous, the supreme wise, and the supreme beautiful. Similarly, similarly, he is the supreme renouncer. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam clearly states that he left the battle in spite of uh, having ample military strength, even without his militia. He alone would have been sufficient to defeat the army of Jarasandha, as he had done 17 times before. Therefore, his leaving the battlefield is an example of his supermost opulence renunciation. After traversing a very long distance, the brothers pretended to become tired. To mitigate their weariness, they climbed up a mountain many miles above the sea level. This mountain was called Pravarshana due to constant rain, for the peak was always covered with clouds sent by Indra. Jarasandha took it for granted that the two brothers were afraid of his military power and had hidden themselves at the top of the mountain. Hmm. First, he tried to find them, searching for a long time, but when he failed, he decided to trap and kill them by setting fires around the peak. He therefore surrounded the peak with firewood and set it ablaze. As the fire spread more and more, Krishna and Balram jumped from the top of the mountain down to the ground, a distance of 88 miles. Thus, while the peak was burning up, Krishna and Balram escaped, unseen by Jarasandha or his men. Jarasandha concluded that the two brothers had burnt to ashes and that there was no need of further fighting. Thinking himself successful in his efforts, he left the city of Mathura and returned to his home in the kingdom of Magad. Gradually, Krishna and Balram reached the city of Dwarka, which was surrounded by the sea. Following this, Sri Balaram married Revati, daughter of King Revata, ruler of Anartha province. This is explained in the ninth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. After the marriage of Baladev, Krishna uh, married Rukmani. Okay. Rukmani was the daughter of King Bhishmaka, ruler of the province known as Vidarbha. Just as Krishna, the supreme personality Godhead, Vasudev, Rukmani, Krishna, just as Krishna, the supreme personality Godhead, Vasudev, Rukmani is the supreme goddess of fortune, Mahalakshmi. According to the authority of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the expansion of Krishna and that of Srimati Radharani are simultaneous. Krishna expands himself into various Vishnu Tattva forms, and Srimati Radharani expands herself into various Shakti Tattva forms by her internal potencies, multi forms of the goddess of fortune. According to Vedic convention, there are 8 kinds of marriage. In the first class marriage system, the parents of the bride and bridegroom arrange for the marriage date. It's called arranged marriage. Then the royal style, the bridegroom goes to the house of the bride, and in the presence of brahmanas, priests, and relatives, the bride is given in charity to the bridegroom. Besides this, there are other systems such as Gandharva and Rakshasa marriages. Krishna married Rukmani according to Rakshasa system, kidnapping her in the presence of his many rivals like Shishupal, Jarasandha, and Shalva. While Rukmani was by Rukmani, being given in the charity to Shishupal, Krishna snatched her from the marriage arena exactly as Garuna snatched a pot of nectar from the demigods. Rukmani, the only daughter of King Bhishmaka, was exquisitely beautiful. She was known as Ruchiranana, which means one who has a beautiful face expanded like a lotus flower. Devotees of Krishna are always eager to hear about the transcendental activities of the Lord. His activities of fighting, kidnapping, and running away from the battlefield are all transcendental, being on the absolute platform, and devotees take a transcendental interest in hearing of them. The pure devotee does not make the distinction that some activities of the Lord should be heard and others avoided. There is, however, a class of so-called devotees known as Prakrit Sahajiyas who are very interested in hearing about Krishna's Raslila with the gopis, but not about his fighting with his enemies. They do not know that his bellicose activities and his friendly activities with the gopis are equally transcendental, being on that absolute platform. All the transcendental pastimes of Krishna, uh, all the transcendental pastimes of Krishna described in Srimad Bhagavatam are relished by pure devotees through submissive oral reception. They do not reject even a drop. The story of Krishna's marriage with Rukmani is described as follows. The king of Vidarbha, Maharaj Bhishmaka, was very qualified and devoted. He had 5 sons and only one daughter. The first son was known as Rukmi, the second son Rukmartha, the third Rukma Bahu, the fourth Rukma Kesha, and the fifth Rukma Mali. The brothers had one young sister, Rukmani. She was beautiful and chaste and was meant to be married to Lord Krishna. Many saintly persons and sages like Narada Muni used to visit the palace of the king Bhishmaka. Naturally, Rukmini had a chance to talk with them, and in this way, she obtained information about Krishna. She was informed about the 6 opulences of Krishna, and simply by hearing about him, she desired to surrender herself to his lotus feet and become his wife. Krishna had also heard of Rukmini. She was the reservoir of all transcendental qualities: intelligence, auspicious physical features, liberal mindedness, exquisite beauty, and righteous behavior. Krishna therefore decided that she was fit to be his wife. All of the relatives of King Bhishmaka decided that Rukmini should be given in marriage to Krishna. But her elder brother, Rukmi, despite the desire of the others, arranged for her marriage with Shishupal, a determined enemy of Krishna. When the black-eyed beautiful Rukmini heard of the settlement, she immediately became very morose. However, being uh, a king's daughter, she understood political diplomacy and decided that there was no use in simply being morose. Some steps should be taken immediately. After some deliberation, she decided to send a message to Krishna, and so that she might not be deceived, she selected a qualified Brahmana as her messenger. Such a qualified Brahmana is always truthful and is a devotee of Vishnu. Without delay, she sent the Brahmana to Dwarka. Reaching the gate of Dwarka, the Brahmana informed the doorkeeper of his arrival, and the doorkeeper led him to the place where Krishna was sitting on a golden throne. Since the Brahmana had the opportunity to be Rukmini's messenger, he was fortunate. Uh, he was fortunate enough to see the supreme representative Godhead Krishna, the original cause of all causes. A Brahmana is the spiritual teacher of all the social divisions. Lord Shri Krishna, in order to teach everyone the Vedic etiquette of how to respect a Brahmana, immediately got up and offered him as his throne. When the Brahmana was seated on the golden throne, Lord Shri Krishna began to worship him exactly as the demigods worship Krishna. In this way, he taught everyone that worshipping his devotee is more valuable than worshipping him. In due time, the Brahmana took his bath, accepted his meals, and lay down to rest on a bedstead completely, bedecked with soft silk. As he was resting, Lord Shri Krishna uh, silently approached and with great respect put the Brahmana's legs on his lap and began to massage them. In this way, Krishna appeared before the Brahmana and said, "My dear Brahmana, I hope that you are executing the religious principles without difficulty and that your mind is always peaceful." Different classes of people in the social systems are engaged in various professions, and when one inquires, can you go little down, Prabhu? Little up, I mean the previous one. Just little one. Little one, little up. Up. Yeah, one minute. No, up. Ah, one minute. Hmm. You can see how Krishna is treating his Brahmana. That is amazing, actually. Krishna is like Supreme Lord, but he is simply, just trying to serve the Brahmanas. Amazing. Krishna appeared before the Brahmana and said, "My dear Brahmana, I hope that you are executing the religious principles without difficulty, and your mind is always peaceful. Your mind is what is that? Different classes of people in the social system are engaged in various professions, and when one inquires as to the well-being of a particular person, he should do on the basis of that person's occupation. Therefore, when one inquires as to the welfare of a Brahmana, the questions should be worded according to his condition of life so as not to disturb him. A peaceful mind is the basis for becoming truthful, clean, equipoised, self-controlled, and tolerant. So this is very important qualities. So welfare of Brahmana means should be worded according to the conditions of life so not to disturb him. And peaceful mind is the basis for becoming truthful. Peaceful mind is the basis. One Brahmana should be peaceful, be clean, truthful, clean, equipoised, self-controlled, and tolerant. So by attaining knowledge and knowing its practical application in life, one becomes convinced about the absolute truth. So both are required. By attaining knowledge and knowing its practical application in life, one becomes convinced about the absolute truth. The Brahmana knew Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead and still he accepted the respectful service of the Lord on the grounds of Vedic social convention. Lord Sri Krishna was playing just like a human being because he belonged to the Kshatriya division of the social system and was a young boy. It was his duty to show respect to such a Brahmana. So, can you go a little before? Yeah. So he was saying he belonged to Kshatriya division of the family, uh, division of the social system, and young boy. It was yeah. Krishna is acting as a social convention actually. Go ahead. Lord Krishna continued, O best of all the Brahmanas, you should always remain satisfied. For if Brahmana is um, always self-satisfied, he will not deviate from his prescribed duties. So it is very important that Brahmana should always be satisfied. He will not, okay. And simply by sticking to one's prescribed duties, everyone, especially Brahman, can attain the highest perfection of all desires. So both are required. No? So Brahmana can be satisfied only when he's doing his prescribed duties nicely also. And Brahmana is always satisfied, is self-satisfied. If he is not self-satisfied, if a Brahmana is always self-satisfied, he will not deviate. And also, if he is satisfied, then he will not deviate also. So it's like a Brahmana should engage in prescribed duties and also always remain satisfied. But if he is not self-satisfied, then he will not deviate. So if he is satisfied, then he will not deviate from prescribed duties also. So anyway, both will go hand in hand. So everyone, especially Brahmana, can attain the highest perfection of all desires by one's prescribed duties, by sticking to one's prescribed duties. But even if a person is an opulent, as opulent as the king of heaven, Indra, if he's not satisfied, he inevitably has to transmigrate from one planet to another. Such a person can never be happy under any circumstances. But if one's mind is satisfied, even if he's bereft of all possessions, he can be happy living anywhere. So this is one very important, interesting thing. Actually, our mind, if is satisfied, then you can be happy in any situation. Mind is not satisfied, best other thing also is that you won't be happy. Go ahead. Then this instruction by Krishna to the Brahmana is very significant. The purport is that a true Brahmana should not be disturbed in any situation. In this modern age, Kaliga, the so-called Brahmanas have accepted the abominable position of Shudras or less and still want to pass as qualified Brahmanas. Actually, a qualified Brahmana always sticks to his own duties and never accepts those of a Shudra or of one less than a Shudra. It is advised in the authorized scripture that a Brahmana may, under awkward circumstances, accept the profession of a Kshatriya or even a Vaishya, but never he is to accept the profession of a Shudra. Lord Krishna declared that a Brahmana will never be disturbed by any adverse conditions if he scripturally sticks to his religious principles. Lord Krishna declared that Brahmana will never be disturbed by any adverse conditions if he scripturally sticks to his religious principle. In conclusion, Lord Shri Krishna said, I offer my respectful obeisances to the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. The Brahmanas are always self-satisfied and the Vaishnavas are always engaged in actual welfare activities for human society. They are the best friends of the people in general. They are free from false egoism and are always in a peaceful condition of mind. Lord Krishna then desired to know about the rulers, Kshatriyas, in the Brahmanas' kingdom. So he inquired whether the citizens of the kingdom were all happy. Kshatriyas in the Brahmanas' kingdom, yeah. A king's qualification is judged by the temperament of the people in the kingdom. If they are happy in all respects, it is to be understood that the king is honest and executing his duties rightly. Krishna said that the king in whose kingdom the citizens are happy is very dear to him. Of course, Krishna could understand that the Brahmana had come with a confidential message. Therefore, he said, if you have no objection, I give you liberty to speak about your mission. Krishna, go little before Prabhu. Yeah. So who said? The Lord said, no? Said, if you have no, okay. Thus being very much satisfied by these transcendental pastimes with the Lord, the Brahmana narrated. The Brahmana narrated the whole story of his mission in coming to see Krishna. He got out the letter Rukmani had written to Krishna and said, this is first love letter, no? The real love letter of Krishna, Rukmani to Krishna. The Rukmani and Krishna, they are eternally related, no? Not like some human modern, some man and woman of this world. Even they maybe get married, but they are not eternally related. That's only temporary illusory relationship. But the relationship between Krishna and Rukmini is eternal. They're eternally, consort. Lord Krishna's consort is Rukmini, eternally. So, okay, it's a pastime of, again, Krishna and Rukmini coming together and getting married. But they're eternally, like that. They have the eternal relationship of Rukmini being consort of Lord Krishna. So it's beautiful. And this love letter is applicable for all the divinities, because we all want to get married to Krishna, meaning we all want to become Krishna's servant, Krishna's maid servant, Krishna's devotee. It's like Rukmini is writing a letter. So all of us can also have similar kind of expression to Krishna for accepting us in his service. These are the words of Princess Rukmani. My dear Krishna, O infallible and most beautiful one, any human being who appears to hear about your transcendental form and pastimes immediately absorbs through his ears your name, fame, and qualities. Thus, all his material pangs subside, and he fixes your form in his heart. Through such transcendental love for you, he always sees you within himself, and by this process, all his desires are fulfilled. Similarly, I have heard of your transcendental qualities. I may be shameless in expressing myself directly, but you have captivated me and taken my heart. You may doubt my steadiness of character, since how could an unmarried young girl like me approach you without any shame? But my dear Mukunda, you are the supreme lion among human beings, the supreme person among persons. Any girl, though not yet having left her home, or even any woman of the highest chastity, would desire to marry you. Though not yet having left her home. Where it went? Suddenly you moved it. Okay, not yet. Where is that? Any girl, though not yet having left her home, or even not that means not married, I think, yeah. Or even any woman of the highest chastity would desire to marry you, being captivated by your unprecedented character, knowledge, opulence, and position. I know that you are the husband of the goddess of fortune and are very kind toward your devotees. Therefore, I have decided to become your eternal maidservant. My dear Lord, I dedicate my life and soul unto your lotus feet. Now the prayer will become intense. So she says, I have selected your lordship as my husband, and I therefore request you to accept me as your wife. You are the supreme powerful, O lotus-eyed one. Now I belong to you. It is an amazing statement. If that which is enjoyable for the lion to eat is taken away by the jackal, it will be a ludicrous affair. Therefore, I request you to immediately take care of me before I am taken away by Shishupal and other princes like him. My dear Lord, in my previous life, I may have done public welfare work like digging wells and planting trees, or pious activities such as performing ritualistic ceremonies and sacrifices and serving superiors like the spiritual master, Brahmanas, and Vaishnavas. By these activities, perhaps I have pleased the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Narayana, if this be so, then I wish that you, Lord Krishna, the brother of Lord Prahlad, please come here and catch hold of my hand so that I shall not be touched by Shishupal and his company. Rukmani's marriage with Shishupal was already settled. Therefore, she suggested that Krishna kidnap her so that this might be changed. This sort of marriage in which the girl is kidnapped by force is known as Rakshasa and is practiced among Kshatriyas or men with an administrative martial spirit. Because her marriage was already arranged to take place the next day, Rukmani suggested that Krishna come there incognito to kidnap her. And then fight with Shishupal and his allies like the king of Magadha. Knowing that one could conquer Krishna, would who would certainly emerge victor. Knowing that no one could conquer Krishna, who would certainly emerge victorious, she addressed him as Ajita, the unconquerable Lord. Rukmani told Krishna not to be concerned about the fighting, not to be concerned, not concerned that the fighting would take place within the palace, and that many of her family members, including other women, might thus be wounded or even killed. As the king of a country thinks of diplomatic ways to achieve his object, Rukmani, being the daughter of a king, was diplomatic in suggesting how this unnecessary and undesirable killing could be avoided. She explained that it was the custom of her family to visit the temple of Goddess Durga, their family deity, before a marriage. Kshatriya kings were mostly staunch Vaishnavas, worshipping Lord Vishnu in either the Radha Krishna or Lakshmana form. Can you go a little move up? Yeah. So, staunch Vaishnava, Kshatriyas king. Okay. They never made they used to worship Lakshminarayan form. Still, for their material welfare, they used to worship. Okay. Goddess Durga. They never made the mistake, however, of accepting the demigods as the supreme lord on the level of Vishnu Tattva. Hmm. As do some less intelligent men. To avoid the unnecessary killing of her relatives, can you go little up, little up? Two, three. Go. Lakshmi form. Still for the material welfare, they used to worship Vajra. But they never made the mistake, however, of accepting demigods as supreme lord on the level of Vishnu Tattva. Okay. To avoid the unnecessary killing of her relatives, Rukmani suggested that it would be easiest for him to kidnap her while she was either going from the palace to the temple or else returning home. She also explained to Krishna why she was anxious to marry him, even though her marriage was to take place with Shishupal, who was also qualified being the son of a great king. Rukmani said that she did not think anyone was greater than Krishna, not even Lord Shiva, who is known as Mahadev, the greatest of all the demigods. Lord Shiva also seeks the pleasure of Lord Krishna in order to be delivered from his entanglement in the quality of ignorance in the material world. Although Lord Shiva is the greatest of all great souls, Mahatmas, he keeps on his head the purifying water of the Ganges, which emanate from a hole in this material universe made by the toe of Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu. Lord Shiva is in charge of the material quality of ignorance, and to keep himself in a transcendental position, he always meditates on Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu or Krishna, and always tries to purify himself with the water of the Ganges. Hmm. Therefore, Rukmani knew very well that obtaining the favor of Krishna was not easy, since even Lord Shiva must purify himself for this purpose. Rukmani, so surely it would be difficult for Rukmani, who was only the daughter of a Kshatriya king. Thus, she desired to dedicate her life to observing severe austerities and penances, such as fasting and going without. Thus, she desired to dedicate her life to observe. Oh, life to observe severe austerities and penances, such as fasting and going without bodily comfort. If it were not possible in this lifetime, see, this is amazing. If it were not possible in this lifetime to gain Krishna's favor by these activities, she was prepared to die from such austerities and to undergo similar difficulties lifetime after lifetime. This is the determination of Rukmani to get Krishna. See? In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that pure devotees of the Lord execute devotional service with great determination. Such determination, as exhibited by Rukmani Devi, is the only price for purchasing Krishna's favor. So we all have to become that determined, like Rukmani Devi. Not following the footsteps of Rukmani Devi, we should be also determined. One should be strongly determined in Krishna consciousness, and that is the way to ultimate success. After relaying Rukmani Devi's statements to Krishna, the Brahmana said, "My dear Krishna, chief of the Hindu dynasty, I have brought this confidential message for you from Rukmani. Now it is placed before you for your consideration. After due deliberation, you may act as you please, but if you want to do something, you must do it immediately. There is not much time left for action." Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 52nd chapter of Krishna the Ranchor, chapter 53. Yeah, go ahead, the next chapter. Amazing, no? How many of you like this story? Awesome. And the favorite story. Very nice. Chapter 3. Krishna kidnaps Rukmani. After hearing Rukmani's statement, Lord Krishna was very much pleased. He immediately shook hands with the Brahmana and said, "My dear Brahmana, I'm very glad to hear that Rukmani is eager to marry me. She says, I'm also eager to get her hand. My mind is always absorbed in thoughts of the daughter of Bhishmaka, and sometimes I cannot sleep at night because I'm thinking of her. Can you imagine? God is not able to sleep because of thinking of his devotee. I can understand that the marriage of Rukmani with Shishupal has been arranged by her elder brother in a spirit of animosity toward me. So I'm determined to give a good lesson to all these princes. Just as one extracts and uses fire after manipulating Hmm. Or they would. After dealing with these demonic princes, I shall bring forth Rukmani. Hmm. Like fire from their mist. Hmm. The sad one. But again, can you go ahead? Just as one extracts and uses fire after manipulating ordinary wood. Hmm. After dealing with these princes, I shall bring. Hmm. Krishna, upon being informed of the specific date of Rukmini's marriage, was anxious to leave immediately. Can you read Virat Prabhu further?
He asked his driver Daruka to harness the horses for his chariot and prepare to go to the kingdom of Vidarbha. After hearing this order, the driver brought Krishna's four special horses. The names and descriptions of these horses are mentioned in the Padma Purana. The first one, Sabya, was greenish, the second, Sugriva, was greyish like ice, and the third, Pushpa, was the color of a new cloud, and the last, Balahaka, was of ashen color. When the horses were yoked and the chariot was ready to go, Krishna helped the Brahmana up and gave him a seat by his side. Immediately they started from Dwaraka and within one night arrived at the province of Vibhara, Vidabhara. The kingdom of Dwaraka is situated in the western part of India and Vidarbha is situated in the northern part. They are separated by a distance of not less than 1,000 miles. But the horses were so fast that they reached their destination, a town called Kundina, within one night, or at most 12 hours. King Bhishmaka was not
Where was?
enthusiastic.
Okay, can you show the geography again? Geography. Hmm. Kingdom Dwarka situated in the western part of India. Okay. And Vidarbha, where Rukmini is there, the northern part. So they're separated by distance, not less than okay. Northern part, yeah. Western and northern Vidarbha. Okay. Yes, Po.
King Bhishmaka was not enthusiastic about handing his daughter over to Shishupal, but he was obliged to accept the marriage settlement due to his affectionate attachment for his eldest son, who had negotiated it. As a matter of duty, the king was decorating the city for the marriage ceremony and acting in great earnestness to make it very successful. Water was sprinkled all over the streets and the city was cleansed very nicely. Since India was situated in the tropical zone, the atmosphere is always dry. Dust always accumulates on the streets and roads, so they must be sprinkled with water at least once a day.
So this was happening in
And
Vidarbha, right? All this was happening in Vidarbha.
right.
Hmm. Hmm. Go ahead.
And in big cities like Calcutta twice a day. The roads of Gondina were arrayed with colored flags and festoons, and the gates were constructed at particular crossings. The whole city was decorated very nicely. The beauty of the city was enhanced by the inhabitants, both men and women, who were dressed in fresh washed clothes and decorated with sandalwood pulp, pearl necklaces, and flower garlands. Incense burned everywhere, and fragrances like a guru scented the air. Priests and brahmanas were sumptuously fed, and according to ritualistic ceremony, were given sufficient wealth and cows in charity. In this way, they were engaged in chanting the Vedic hymns. The king's daughter Rukmani was exquisitely beautiful. She was very clean and had beautiful teeth. The auspicious sacred thread was tied on her wrist.
But
She was given.
should not go to any dentist though.
She didn't. Yeah, that's right, Prabhuji.
Because she had transcendental teeth. No? It's her
Oh
body is
yeah,
not,
that's right.
she doesn't have that, ordinary mortal body. She is the goddess of
Yeah.
fortune. So,
Oh yeah.
so
Hmm.
when it is described about the Lord or the consort of the Lord or the goddess of fortune, so we should understand they are not people of this world.
Hmm.
They're not some man or woman of this world. They are completely on the transcendent platform. So she did not need any kind of dentist.
Right.
No braces or anything.
Hmm. True. The auspicious sacred thread was tied on her wrist. She was given various types of jewelry to wear and long silken cloth to cover the upper and lower parts of her body. Learned priests gave her protection by chanting mantras from the Samaved, Rigved, and Yajurved. Then they chanted mantras from the Atharved and offered obligations in the fire to
Oblations,
pacify the
not obligations, oblations.
and offered oblations in the fire to pacify the influence of different stars. King, are we continuing, Prabhuji? King Bhishmaka was experienced in dealing with brahmanas and priests when such ceremonies were held. He specifically honored the brahmanas by giving them large quantities of gold and silver, grain mixed with molasses, and cows decorated with cloth and ornaments. Namagosha, Shishupal's father, executed all kinds of ritualistic performances to invoke good fortune for his son.
I think we'll pause here,
Shishupal
brother.
was
I'll pause here. No, we can continue later. Because the time is up here. Darshan is getting open. So thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining. Athar Prabhu and Jagbir Prabhu, both of them have joined today. Very nice. The Pota and Dada, both of them have joined.
Hey, it's me, Nishan.
Athar, you're Nishant Prabhu. Oh, okay, okay. Athar is not there?
No, Atharv is not there. He
Okay, and
just
Aditya.
came.
Thank you for joining, Aditya Prabhu.
No, it's Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
You like the today's reading?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. Okay. Exams are over, Aditya?
Almost done, Prabhu.
Okay. You're not going to India, no?
No, I am not going India.
Okay, fine. Okay, I'll tell you about some nice thing coming up. Bye, bye. Correct.
Hmm.